Hi, my name is Michelle Puzo, the Executive Director of Your Community Cares. Today we're at Center Congregational Church here in Manchester, and we're welcoming the Manchester High School students that are going to learn more about mental health services that are available here in Manchester. So welcome to all of the high school students. Thanks for being with us today. Today we are going to have our first presenter is Chris Grant from the Lavender Policy Center. So welcome, Chris. Come on up and let's hear all about your services.
Thank you, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. As Michelle had said, my name is Chris Grant. I am the Executive Director of the Lavender Policy Center. So I just want to first thank you all for being here today, as well as for Michelle for organizing this event today. So to get started, I just wanted to go over a brief background of myself, our organization, and just to give you some insight into what we do, the services that we provide, as well as the work that we're really trying to do in the community. Just to begin with, I did actually come from California. I grew up there. I moved out here when I decided to pursue graduate school. And when I established myself in my career, I actually started in the healthcare industry, specifically within pharmaceuticals. And I worked for several pharma companies developing drugs for oncology purposes or neurodegenerative diseases. And I eventually found my way into the nonprofit sector. And I actually started that with my husband. And the reason why we wanted to get into this kind of work was because we had a deep passion for helping like-minded individuals, as well as just trying to help more marginalized folks that were in need. So a couple of the programs that we offer at the Lavender Policy Center deal with mental health, harm reduction, and direct services, specifically with people who are living with HIV. Also addiction services, groups of peer-led support services, and as well as pursuing legislative agendas where we actually provide oral and written testimony on House bills, Senate bills that would actually impact some regulatory type of governance over things like gambling specifically. So when I got started with my career, I went through college several times. I really liked school, and I'm still not done. I pursued a bachelor's degree, which is something you guys might be interested in after graduating high school. Following that, I got my first master's degree in genetics, and that's how I got into the pharma companies, doing the work that I did in the labs. From there, I actually pursued a second master's degree in business administration to give me a better perspective on how to run an organization. And it's come in really handy because there are a lot of business components, basically, of any job that you will perform when you guys enter the workforce. And so from there, I think I'm going to still pursue another degree after that, just because I like school. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how inclined you are to school. If you don't like school, if you do like school, if you feel it's not for you, that's also okay. It's just something that one of my personal passions. But to dive in a little bit more into what our organization does specifically, we actually have recently had a lot of traction in the last couple of months, specifically with our nonprofit. And for that, I mean that we actually have presented in front of legislatures, lawmakers, policy makers, lawyers from the Connecticut General Law Committee, on a House bill that actually sought to restrict more loopholes in the online gambling world. You might be familiar with people talking about FanDuel, sports betting, things like that on mobile gaming apps. And so there were some loopholes that we identified that were actually causing more addictive behavior as people use them more frequently. So we actually helped lawmakers to identify these loopholes, and they are actually working on voting on a bill just actually last week on Wednesday where we went in front of these folks and we provided our testimony and why they should be in favor of this bill. Prior to that, we've also been presenting on other healthcare initiatives for a similar bill, but more healthcare oriented, where they would provide insurance coverage for biomarker testing. Biomarker testing, if you don't know, is a way to identify a specific genetic trait for different types of cancer. So if someone has a type of cancer, they have a genetic test for it, they can actually get a more targeted therapy or treatment for it so that they can maintain their health. And so some of the work that we do within mental health, direct services within healthcare, and the legislation side of things, it's come full circle. So it's all kind of interconnected, if you will. And the beauty of that is that you could find interest, you could find passion in basically anything. We actually started this organization as a think tank. It didn't start off like what we do currently. It started off as a way for us to just, do some advocacy work, reach out to folks like you, people in our own community, and we actually got our name from a piece of history as well, from the 50s, the 1950s and 60s, way before your time. But we took our name, the Lavender Policy Center, from a specific piece of history called the Lavender Scare under the Eisenhower presidency. And that Lavender Scare was a period in time where we actually saw many members of the LGBTQ+ community being removed from their government positions because it was not deemed appropriate for the LGBTQ+ community to hold positions just because of who we were. And so reclaiming that piece of history, I think, was important. And you may ask, hey, Chris, how is that even relevant to the services that you provide? And to that, I would say, well, because the reason for every nonprofit, every organization, whether it be a charitable organization or a for-profit company, has a history. And you build on that history, and it kind of shapes your vision, your mission, your organization's goals. And so that is how you develop your programming, that is how you develop your teams, your leadership. And so it's going to be very important as you continue to work with the people that you come to know as friends and coworkers. And so let me stop there. Are there any questions so far? Yes?
I was wondering, what is your average hours, day-to-day schedule?
For the work schedule, typical 9 to 5 in the morning. Sometimes as you move into your career, you have a more responsibility, leadership roles. Sometimes those hours would extend into different parts of the day. It depends on what capacity you serve, but for the core business, usually it's 9 to 5. Yes.
Is there a story behind why you wanted to go into this field?
Yes. Thank you. That's a very good question. So, the nonprofit world is appealing because it's very different from the for-profit sector. Nonprofits are charitable organizations. The business is structured very differently. We don't rely on profits. We don't sell anything. We're not bringing in business in the typical sense of buying and purchasing. We rely on grants. We reach out to other foundations that actually fund the initiatives that we're passionate about. And circling back to what I was saying about how we started this as a think tank, it's when you start an organization, when you start a business, you really have just complete creativity to really make it your own. And so I wanted to marry my education, my work experience, and my passion all into one organization. And so from there, it just kind of evolved into what it is. I said, oh, I want to do this. All right, well, how do I accomplish that? What are the steps I need to make this come to fruition? And so, you just keep doing that, and you get better and better at it, and then soon you have an organization that you built from the ground up, and you have a lot of pride in what you are able to accomplish. Yes?
What are the requirements if you were to apply at your organization?
So requirements include being at least 18 years of age. We do take volunteers of any age group, so high school students are welcome. But to be employed, you do need to be at least 18 years of age. Typically, we do look for service providers in terms of people who are working in the clinical field for mental health. Also like nurses, physicians for our HIV Care Plus program, because they're the ones who are actually interacting with patients. They're the ones who are going to be prescribing medications for the folks who are living with HIV, and different pharmacy technicians. Well, we are still building up that program. It hasn't been completely fleshed out yet, but in terms of the peer-led support groups, the addiction services, and the mental health, yes, all are welcome of any background or skill set. Okay, so moving on, I wanted to also talk a little bit about, maybe there's some career ambitions that you folks have. Can anyone in here tell me something that they're interested in? Maybe that's something that they want to pursue as a job. Maybe it's something they just want to do as a personal passion project. Any ideas? Yes?
I'm really passionate about going into nursing.
Into nursing?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Let's roll with that. So, what brought you into nursing? Like what?
I really enjoy helping people, and I've always wanted to be like a doctor or some type of healthcare when I was little, so I've always wanted to do that.
That's actually great. I applaud that. My parents actually wanted me to go into nursing too when I was your age. And, as you continue through your education in high school, if you all pursue college, that is something that you're going to navigate yourselves. You're going to want to pursue a degree that is going to be tailored to your interests. And college is probably one of the best experiences that you all will have. I know it was for me. You study what you want to study. I know in high school they're really trying to hammer every subject into you. But in college you really have the unique opportunity to tailor your journey to where you want to see your future at. And I think that's just really magical in our educational system because it's just filled with opportunity, and there's a lot of opportunity in that because you may find something different or a stronger passion while you're in college. I wanted to start off being a physician when I was in high school. Before that, I wanted to be a veterinarian, but as I continued on my journey, I found my love for the lab sciences, and that's what got me into pharmaceuticals. I'm very data-oriented. I love reading scientific papers. I have a couple publications as well myself. From there, it's just, we're always evolving, we're always learning, and we're always developing. So don't ever think that your journey ends at a certain age or a certain career milestone. The world is your oyster, and the sky is the limit. Any questions from that? So I think one other thing to touch on that I wish was bestowed upon me at a younger age before I had to navigate all of this myself. If you do pursue a career, there is always professional development services in terms of how to build your skill sets. You don't always have to go to college to achieve that. You can move up in the chain of command, you can move up in the corporate ladder without a college degree as well, just in case that you were pursuing other options. Trade schools are also a very viable career option, and navigating student loans is a little bit tricky. It's a bit intimidating as well. I would not say don't let that stop you. Because, as someone who does have a significant amount of student loans that don't seem to be going away anytime soon, I think it is really important that that return on investment is definitely something you will see. And there are industries out there, some that are, more affected by economic downturns. There are some industries out there that are more resistant to economic hardships, whether that be federal policies that change the landscape of your industry, or if there are, if there's a recession, the housing market crashes, anything like that. It doesn't mean that you need to make a career change or pivot, but it's certainly something that you can achieve. And that was one of the things that I was contemplating recently as my industry in pharmaceuticals was kind of turned upside down with some of the policy changes in the industry, or it being notorious for contract work, which means no benefits, no medical care for that. So it's really just, you have to find ways to, one, stay healthy, two, make sure that you're bringing in an income to pay your bills, as we will learn, since, adulting is not easy. But that's also one of the reasons why I decided to pursue a second master's degree, because I found myself so specialized in a very specific or siloed industry. Not a lot of people out there are able to clone something or make a drug from scratch, or drive a pharmaceutical asset through clinical trials. So because of that, when I was looking for other work at one time, when there was a company restructuring, I found myself in need of some new skills, something that was more diverse, that I could apply to almost anything. And so that's why I pursued a master's in business administration. Moving back to our nonprofit organization, building that up in different ways is more applicable to what we do and what my team does. I think it's just been really rewarding, because they also bring a very unique set of skills, perspectives. The more diversity you have, the more innovation you will receive or actually experience in your organization or team output. So with that, before we move on to the activity, are there any questions from that? Yes?
When you have people that are going through addiction, how do you go about helping them so that they can get better?
Great question. I love that, actually. So let's expand on that. The word addiction. What does addiction mean to you guys?
Like you're hooked on something.
I'm sorry?
Like you're hooked on something.
Yes. Any other ideas?
When you're like so obsessed with something, you can't like do your own life without it.
Yes. Yes. One more. Let's have one more from some new faces.
Something that takes over your life.
Yes. So, I'm sorry?
Starting at a young age.
Yeah, it could start at almost any age. So, interesting point, addiction. And I say that because when we hear the word addiction, many people think of a substance, alcohol, drugs. But addiction can be much broader than that. Addiction is the pattern of behavior that starts to take over your time, your choices, and ultimately your health. It can come in the form of alcohol, it can come in the form of drugs, but it also come in the form of, say, gambling. And when people have experienced a certain hardship in life, whether that be a death in the family, whether that be a financial loss, whether that be a breakup, they turn to coping mechanisms. And sometimes if those coping mechanisms are not necessarily rooted in healthy habits, they can slowly take over your overall health and well-being. So with that, I think that is a very good pivoting point to move into our activity. All right, so before we begin, let me just ask, how many of you have heard of online gambling? Not the gambling in the casinos, not the gambling like you see on slot machines, but how many of you have heard or at least seen someone using a mobile gaming app, FanDuel, sports betting, things like that, Super Bowl? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, almost all of you. Cool. All right, so if we open the booklet to the first page, we will see our opening here. So as I think one of our audience members had mentioned, gambling is more than just casinos and lottery tickets. It can show up in many parts of our everyday lives, often with us even realizing it. This activity book is designed to help all of you learn what gambling is, how it works, and how it might impact you or those around you. And if you remember, one of the peer-led support groups we have is also geared towards addiction, and we have those groups pretty much with open topics. Those topics can include gambling, addiction, and it'll also include whatever the members of the group that they're attending wish to talk about. So when you come into a space like ours, just remember, it's not always going to be about a specific topic that you have to stick to. We encourage a lot of different ideas, a lot of different topics that people may want to talk about themselves, even if, however sensitive they are. So to continue, we'll turn to the second page here, the learning objectives. So before we're done here today, I just want to reiterate that this booklet with the activities is going to help you define and identify the legal types of gambling in Connecticut, and discuss the impact of gambling, and identify warning signs that might lead to addictive behaviors, and learn more about resources to address problem gambling. And also, just I think it's important to mention, we're not trying to prevent people from gambling. We're not like trying to put a stop to that. We're just trying to make people aware of some behaviors that could lead to some repetitive habits that could have negatively impact their financial health and their interpersonal relationships. All right, so what is gambling? Risking something of value on an activity that has an uncertain outcome. Value just doesn't mean money. In a space below, I would like each of you to write what you think is of value to you. And each of those categories we have in time, relationships, health, and jobs. Jobs, not always employment, but it could be, you know, maybe your uncle, your aunt, your grandfather,
Wait,
grandmother.
you want us to write one of each?
I'm sorry? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, you could write in these, you could use them as however you wish after we're done here. So I just want to get some ideas from you all about what it is that you hold value in. All right, pencils down. I hit you right in the trauma, right? Testing time, SATs. All right, so show of hands. Who would like to share? Time. What's valuable for your time? Yes.
Friends, family, sports.
Very good. How about someone for relationships? Mom, dad, brother, sister, cousins. For me, my sister just had her second child. She actually gave birth to her first just 5 days before my birthday, which was last Wednesday. And so now I'm a brand new uncle. Love every minute of it. And I have my first nephew and my first niece. Well, the niece is on the way. But how about someone for health? What did you guys write down for health? Anyone have someone going through something that, that they aren't sure quite how to help them, or maybe they did help them in a particular way, whether it just be companionship, or maybe they learned something about a health risk that somebody had that they want to keep an eye out for someone else in their family, or maybe themselves. Jobs. Anyone write down something for jobs? How about being asked to do your chores when you get home? I know when I was in high school, my mom had a chore list before I even got home from school of stuff I had to complete. What value I had in that wasn't something I realized until I was older. She was teaching me discipline. And it actually worked because it bled into my etiquette for my jobs. I had a good work ethic, and so it was annoying at the time when I was doing all of these chores. And what kid wants to do chores when they get home from school after a long, hard day? But the value in that is that, when you raise kids, you try to teach them to be very responsible adults. So moving on to the next page, gambling classifications. Now this is important because this is the bread and butter. So responsible gambling is a term to describe the ways in which games of chance are both offered and participated in a socially responsible way that lowers the risk of gambling harms. So you might see your family members, grandma might buy some scratch or lottery tickets at the gas station, while your mom or your dad or another family member or friend goes to the casino, plays a little slot machines, and then that calls it a day once they budgeted for their money. However, problem gambling is the next category, a pattern of gambling engagement that causes an individual to have important problems in various aspects of their lives. So moving back to the values, problem gambling can affect one of these four categories. And when it starts to do that, that's when you start to notice the risks and the warning signs of it progressing into something more serious, which is the next category, gambling disorder. And that is a clinical term related to a score assessed by a professional using a recognized set of criteria from the DSM-5, which is something that the healthcare provider uses to classify or move it from problem gambling into gambling disorder. So, the different types of gambling and ages in Connecticut. Some of you might be familiar with some of these, not all, but let's just go through them. Lottery, we've all heard of the jackpot lottery. The stock market, in case you didn't know, some people, like myself, didn't know that that was actually a form of gambling when I started this program. I thought that, as you begin to move into adulthood, people are always saying, save, invest, make sure that you have a retirement plan, 401k, something to that nature, a pension. Well, stock markets investments might be one of those things that they suggest. However, if you invest too heavily with money that you don't necessarily can afford to lose, that can be a form of gambling. Something that we just spoke about earlier, sports betting and fantasy sports. Super Bowl, it doesn't always have to include sports, it could also include things like, I don't know, who plays World of Warcraft in here? Anything could be turned into a betting game. What team wins, what team loses, how you perform in a specific, first person game like Call of Duty or something like that. Online gambling, so anything that you're able to download on your phone. The traditional one, casinos, off-track betting, horse racing, skins and loot boxes, which is what you see in like some of the online apps that might encourage you to make a purchase to get more coins or get more some type of currency to exchange to make your character more powerful, stronger, something like that. And then charitable games. Charitable games meaning like, okay, scratch and lottery tickets, but in the form of do this and then you'll win a prize. It doesn't necessarily have to be coming from a casino. So let's move into some true or false myths. Problem gambling is not really a problem if the person can afford it. True or false?
False.
What was that?
False.
False? That is correct. And why is that? Just because someone has a lot of money and they can afford a few losses, does that mean that they're participating in risky behavior? It does. What about if someone owes a lot of money due to gambling and it is important to help them pay off that debt ASAP? Helping them to pay off that gambling debt, are you contributing to some of their addictive behaviors so that they think that it's an easy way out? Hey, I'll just get so-and-so to help me pay off my debt. They're good for the money. I'll just pay them back when I can. That's risky behavior. What about almost winning in no way, let's back up there. Almost winning in no way means that a real win is just around the corner. So if you see someone's like, oh, I almost won, that doesn't mean that they're going to win. It is still randomized, and that's what gambling is. If people gamble long enough, they will learn the game and win more as they continue to play it. They'll win more often than they lose, the more that they play it. True or false? False. Because like I said, it's still randomized. Learning the game like the back of your hand, the ins and outs of how to play, it's not going to make you win anymore. This one's a fun one. So on the left page here, we're going to use the clues on the left to fill in the blank. So spending more time and money. The next one we have is a picture of people, and we have the prompt, withdrawal from family and friends. Now the next one is you see someone being chased by somebody else. Blank loses with more gambling. Blank losses with more gambling. You're chasing those losses. What does that mean? It means that you keep losing, but you're chasing those losses in the attempt to try to win again, to win your money back. You bet more increasingly as you try to win more back. So the more money you put in, the more you get back. However, if you keep losing, it's just going to drain your funds. And so pretty soon, people lose more than they actually budgeted for. And then they can't afford to pay their bills. The next one shows gambling to escape blank or when there is a crisis. Do you think the word stress would work?
I would say life.
What was that?
I would say life.
Yeah. I mean, we're all human. We all have hiccups that happen in our life's journey. And sometimes people don't want to deal with those emotions. They want to escape that reality. And sometimes they escape to some type of addiction, whether that be drugs, alcohol, gambling. It could be another form of addiction that stems from unhealthy behavior. The next one, creating special blank to gamble. That one's pretty obvious. It has the word events. So you're creating a specific event to give you a reason to go gamble. The next one, boasting about winning and evasive about, what's the opposite of winning?
Losing.
Yes. So when someone's always saying, hey, I just won like $500, they always talk about the wins. They don't talk about how much it took them to get that win. The next one is decreasing desire to engage in other blank. Now this one's pretty broad, it can be a lot of different things. So you're decreasing your desire to engage in things like sports, activities with friends, socializing, family affairs. And the next one we have is blank, display of money and possessions. That one's a little tricky. What can we say about that? How about the word flashy? So someone's like, wow, look at this new $1 million home I just bought. Look at this like $200,000 car I just purchased. They're trying to show off all of their possessions as a way to make you think that their gambling is working for them. Blank intensity of interests. Decrease or increase, depending on how you perceive that. Your decrease in interest other than gambling. You have an increase or desire to keep going back. And the last one we have, that's a little nail on the head there because we have a little schoolhouse there. Frequent absences from blank, work, and home. So you're skipping out on school, you're calling out of work, you're not at home for dinnering time, just so that you could keep pursuing this behavior of continuing to gamble. So when it's starting to affect these different aspects of your life, those are your warning signals right there. So we'll skip this page right here. We'll move on to the next one. This one is a fun little one, and I only have about 20 minutes left, so we'll wrap up with that one and maybe a couple others towards the back of the booklet. So you guys could peruse this throughout your time if you guys wish to. So we're going to play the Lucky Guess game. The Lucky Guess game is that we're going to start with 10 tokens. So just keep track of, each of you start with 10. You could write the word 10 next to your thing and then just like cross them off as we go throughout this game. Before each round, I'm going to pick a number between 1 and 6, and that'll be essentially our dice roll. And if the number comes up, you win 5 tokens. If not, you lose 1 token. All right, everybody understand those rules? All right, so we'll do the first one together. So round 1, what do you think I'm going to say? Say it in your head, just think of a number. And I'm going to choose a number between 1 and 6. And I choose the number 3. All right, so write down what your guess was. Write down what my guess was, or what the dice roll, or what the number I just told you was. And did you win or lose? And then if you lost, then you take 1 token from the 10 that you originally had. If you win, if you guessed right, then you receive 5 tokens. Now, if we did that 9 more times to fill out this table, we would have a type of scorecard. And you would see over those 10 different rolls or guesses that you all had, that your chances of winning would be significantly reduced every time. And the odds of you winning or guessing the correct number that I rolled or mentioned to you would not always work in your favor. Why is that? Because the odds are always randomized. But the odds are usually not in favor of the person gambling. All right. So we're going to do a true or trick, similar to true or false. The belief in the first scenario here is after losing so much, I'm bound to win soon. Truth. Every spin or flip is random. Past outcomes don't change the future odds. How many of you were thinking about that when we were just playing our little dice game? You were trying to use that knowledge to predict what I was going to say or roll in the next roll. Near miss fallacy. I was so close, I must be getting luckier. Almost winning, as I mentioned, doesn't mean you'll win next. It's still random. And the last one, the illusion of control. The belief is that if I use my lucky number or strategy, I'll win. Some of the things that I've seen at casinos, people like rub the machine and try to like do these little patterns or something on the screen to try to, you know, superstition, trick it into winning or landing on the number that they chose. You know, people have those little superstitions, doesn't always work. It doesn't work. But you can't control chance. Luck doesn't follow patterns or rituals. So, we'll move on to the next one. We're going to go to this page, the left-hand side. So, how many of you guys would say that you spend a significant amount of your free time looking at a screen of some sort? Computer, phone, TV? A lot, right? I see some smiles. Yeah. In this digital age, it takes over a lot of our free time, our lives, and time away from family. So screens can be super fun, but you can play games, watch shows, and chat with friends. But just like eating too much candy, too much screen time isn't the best for your body or your brain. Your brain needs rest. When you're always staring at a screen, your brain doesn't get a chance to relax. Breaks help you think better and to feel calmer. It's also a good way to manage stress. You know, high school is a very difficult time. I understand that. Taking your free time to, you know, decompress, just let everything wash away, take yourself off social media. I'm not saying delete your accounts, I'm just saying, like, you know, just put the phone down. Your eyes get tired. Staring at screens too long can also make your eyes feel dry or sore. Looking away or going outside gives them a rest. I remember when I used to be really into video games, you know, too much video game playing would cause me to feel like a type of nausea because there's a chemical imbalance where your brain and your eyes think that it's been poisoned, and there's been studies on this, because your physical body is not moving, but your mind and your eyes still remain active and engaged, especially in games like Call of Duty. So your brain thinks that because you're feeling these motions of turning left, turning right, running, jumping, all of that, but your body's not physically experiencing that in real time, your body has this mechanism of trying to purge whatever it thinks it's being poisoned with. And that's where that nausea feeling comes in when you start to play video games after not stepping away for long periods of time and then going right back into it. So, like I said, give your eyes a break. You know, take some resting exercises. It also messes with your sleep. I know I've also been guilty of this myself, where I would be up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning even, playing video games on my days off or when I didn't have school on a certain day. But using screens too close to bedtime can make it harder to fall asleep because of the blue light that they emit. Turning your screens off while before bedtime helps your brain get ready to get that REM sleep. REM sleep is that deepest form of sleep when you actually start to dream. And that's how your body becomes more well rested. The more REM sleep you get, the more rested you become. The last one, your body wants to move. Sitting for too long isn't great for your body or your health. Taking a break to stretch, walk, or dance keeps you strong and healthy. We know that because obviously exercise helps you stay healthy. It doesn't mean you have to, go into the gym, lift heavy weights, and come out looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But any kind of movement, activity to get you up and moving, get that blood flowing, is important for your health. So I think that is just about wrapping it up. Are there any questions that you all have before we conclude and move on to the next presenter? Well, I have some goodies for you. And for those of you, I got 5 phone lock boxes. So these are a fun little present from our friends at the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. They actually help you put your phone away for extended periods of time if you're trying to just break away from the chaos of your day, or your screens, whatever. So these little things, these little gadgets actually keep your phone safe. They keep your phone locked in a box. Of course, you have the ability to open and close that locked box, but it's just a nice little way for you to step away from everything.
LavenderPolicyCenter.org is where you can find out more information about Chris and all the great work that they're doing with their organization. And they're a Manchester-based organization, so we're so happy that you could be with us today.